Moving down the line here, we get to CSR Gifted. Hey, look at that. What are we doing on time here? 41 minutes. Yes. So he says that given SpaceX's frontier is lowering the cost of spaceflight, why do you think Elon and company decided to pioneer pure carbon fiber construction for its Mars architecture rather than going with a big dumb booster made of steel? I don't know the details of the engineering, but my guess would be that up until SpaceX, it seemed to everybody, certainly it seemed to me, and I never heard anybody say anything different. It may have been a theoretical thing, but if it wasn't on the board in any serious way. Up until SpaceX, the idea of reusability, and reusability is what keeps the cost down. If every single time you launch something into orbit, you not only have to throw away the tanks and the structure, which are expensive, but that's not where the money is. If every single time you launch a rocket, you have to take those priceless rocket engines and chuck them into the ocean, then it's going to be an expensive proposition. Every time you go up, if you go up to refuel, if you go up to visit a space station, if you go up to launch a space station, every time you go up, you're throwing away the engines, you're throwing away the fuel tanks, throwing away all of this. So up until SpaceX landed a rocket vertically, took the booster rocket, the first stage, did its job, and then kept enough fuel to come back down and land on a dime, I had always assumed, and most people had assumed, that the only way you'd get into reusable spaceflight would be with aeronautical aircraft like the space shuttle. And the space shuttle was originally designed to be launched from the back of a carrier aircraft and basically sit on the back of a large jet, and the jet would fly as high as it could, 50, 60,000 feet, get going as fast as it could, set the right departure angle. I think that's alpha. And you light the candle on the shuttle, and off it goes. The booster then flies back to Earth, the shuttle flies back to Earth, and all you have to do is refuel it, essentially. That's a cheap system. You could cycle that all day, basically, for the cost of the fuel. And that's how you get big changes in space. But Elon Musk and SpaceX changed the equation when they recovered the first stage booster. It's unheard of. So now, instead of, if you had 3 rockets under the old system, you'd get 3 launches. Every one of them ends up in the Atlantic. But if you have 3 boosters of the type that SpaceX has made work, then those 3 rockets could literally get you hundreds of launches. They could just be cycling. One goes up, and while the other one's coming down, and the third one's being refueling, you just go. And that seems to be the set of his plans, is that with the reusable boosters, we're able to do things that don't make any sense at all economically without a reusable booster. And one of them is you put this gigantic shuttle up into orbit, and then you refuel it in orbit. You have to take fuel up from the gravity well of the Earth. Something 96%, 97% of the energy needed to go to anywhere in the solar system is spent getting into Earth orbit. 95, 96% of the total energy to go to Pluto is just to get into Earth orbit. So you're hauling up fuel from a very strong, deep gravity well. And the only way to do that is with raw force, and the raw force means a big rocket. And fuel's not expensive. Liquid oxygen costs less than milk, I think. Many of these rockets are running on either alcohol or methane, or some are working on hydrazine, I guess. But in any event, the fuel's not the big cost. So what Elon's done is redefine the game by changing the economics of the big dumb rocket. Because in a nutshell, it's not a big dumb rocket anymore. It's a big smart rocket. And it lifts a hell of a lot of tonnage into space, and then it comes back and it's recycled and it does it again. And that is the cost. Look, we could do anything anywhere if we had infinite money, right? I mean, if we had infinite amounts of money in cash on hand, if there was such a thing, who cares if we throw away a rocket every time? We've got infinite amount of money. We've got infinite budgets. Just keep them coming. Just march them off the assembly lines. But we don't have infinite money. So this is the game changer, is the reusability of the booster. I've seen the animation of his plan to Mars, and one of the things they say in there is that it's not going to look like this. It's going to look exactly like this. This is what we're going to build. And hooray for that. I'm so glad to finally hear some audacity and some reasonable time frames. We're going to launch in 4 years. This first one, oh my God, that's I wish they could have done this 40 years ago. However, I will say, just as an aside, That appears to be about the ugliest space vehicle I've ever seen. That interplanetary shuttle. That thing looks like it came out of a really, really bad movie in 1955. I was hoping for something cooler, and by cooler I mean something even looked like the space station. But this is one ugly. The SpaceX shuttle looks like something that I would have drawn when I was in 4th grade. But with all that said, hoorah! And I'd ride it in a heartbeat, absolutely in a heartbeat. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Okay, let's see what we're doing on time here.